Thank you, Chancellor Wilson, President Gertler, Dean Jones, and my beloved Ronaldo Walcott. Congratulations to you guys. You look fresh and ready for the work I need you to do. You know, I really want to congratulate you today because I know, you know, that it took some time and some effort and some energy and, well, some going to the bars too, I know, but that was also the work of it. And I want to wish you really, really a good life, you know, a good, alert, beautiful life. I want to begin with a poem. In the middle of afternoons, driving north on the 35, stopping for a paper and a coffee, I read the terrifying poetry of newspapers. I notice vowels have suddenly stopped their routine interrogating. Their alarming rooms are shut, their burning light collapsed. The wave of takeovers, they say, mergers and restructuring swept the world's blue chips rally in New York, Bundesbank looms, imperial oil increases dividends, tough cutbacks build confidence. Your mouth never opens to say all this. All the breathful air of words is taken, swept, yes. You feel your coffee turn to asphalt. You look around, and your eyes hit the dirty corners of the windy store. Stray papers, stray cup, stray oil, stray fumes of gas. Your mouth never opens. Your keys look unfamiliar. Is Microsoft a rapacious plunderer or a benign, benevolent giant? Rough road ahead. Rough road ahead, they instruct. So I leave the gas station, leave the paper on the counter, not listening to the woman calling me back for my change, my mouth full and tasteless. In this winter light, on this highway burrowing north, this winter road, this detail then, when grass leans in certain light, in other days, blue. Green darkens, or yellows, or snows, or disappears. Leave me there then, at 2 p.m., rounding the 35 to the 121. Rough road ahead, they say. Some say that poets should stay on matters of nature, on matters of love, on the domestic, on language, the esoteric, not history, not politics. I have often been asked what literature has to do with justice, with freedom, with liberation. This is the conservative line of poetry. To stay away from politics, stay away from intervening in the everyday, except to soothe, to bring good tidings, observe beauty, lift us from the daily trouble of the world. But I am reminded of the great poet Aimé Césaire, who said, "Justice listens at beauty's door." Justice listens at beauty's door. Art does a work in the world. The movement into the big and beautiful world some of us are trying to create comes, for me, through making art that reimagines, art that accounts, art that recovers the beautiful world from breakage. I wrote those beginning two verses 21 years ago. 21 years ago, but don't they sound like the state of things now, I think? And they sounded even more like that to me when I recently read that the former Bank of Canada Governor David Dodd said of the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion, he said, "We're going to have to some very unpleasant circumstances. There are some people that are going to die in protesting construction of this pipeline. We have to understand that. Nevertheless, we have to be willing to enforce the law once it's there. It's going to take some fortitude to stand up. We have seen at other places that equivalent of religious zeal landing, leading to flouting of the law in a way that could lead to death. Inevitably, when you get that kind of fanaticism, you're going to have trouble. Now, frankly, I find nothing more fanatical than the belief by governments and multinational corporations that you can extract everything from the earth and still survive. Now, that's fanaticism, not the protesters for me. And nothing more dishonest, in a sense, than suggesting to a various population that this is the general will of the population. And nothing more deceptive than saying it will be for the good of us all. When I talk about the state of the world in my work, it is to point out its contours and also to say how much we can do, to say how deep our resources are to make the world the place we want to live in, and to say how deadly not analyzing the world is, how without life and possibility, to say how we become drones of the current killing economies, the economies that find people desperate in the Mediterranean, for example. When we don't analyze, when we don't enter the world fully. The great Haitian historian Michel Rolfe-Trouillot writes, "We are never as steeped in history as when we pretend not to be. But if we stop pretending, we may gain in understanding what we lose in false innocence. Naivete is often an excuse for those who exercise power. For those upon whom that power is exercised, naivete is always a mistake." So then, let us talk about alertness to the world, shimmering alertness. How do we figure ourselves out against the backdrop of history? What do we notice? What things come together to make us up at a particular moment? How is existence constructed for you? How do you walk into interpretations of the self unknowingly? I think that if you're lucky, you spend the rest of your life analyzing and fighting these interpretations, assignments of gender, of race, of class. And if you're not, you spend your life unquestioningly absorbing. This is the luck of consciousness, to be awake to history. But I don't have to tell you that, because you just finished your degrees. Those degrees required of you this attention, this keen and caring analysis of the world. Many of you are going to be teachers, and I know you carry those analyses with you. And I'm grateful and happy that future generations have you as teachers, some of you. This institution, OISI, is renowned for its studies in liberatory pedagogies. As you may not know, this is my alma mater. And when I attended in the 80s, and I was thinking back, and I thought it was only 20 years ago, but really it was like 30, right? 1988, I graduated from OISI. I actually didn't come to the ceremony. I was too busy. I studied the work then of Paulo Freire, Ralph Miliband, Patricia J. Williams, Barbara Smith, Audre Lorde, Antonio Gramsci, Frantz Fanon, C.L.R. James, Paula Giddings, Jacqueline Jones, Paul Willis, Heliot Saffioti, Maria Mies, all theorists trying to analyze this world and imagine a different one. Gramsci wrote, "The crisis consists precisely in the fact that the old is dying and the new cannot be born. In this interregnum, a great variety of morbid symptoms appear." That must be resonating with us now. Yes, we live in the time of cacotopias, the worst governments all over the world. Okay. So today we have Donald Trump in the US consolidating a white supremacist dictatorship. And right here in our own backyard, we have Doug Ford, newly elected, moving us back to the good old Ontario where Men were white and ladies were ladies and had great smiles, and children stayed ignorant. And as the Globe and Mail reported just this week, ministries were told that all media subscriptions need to be canceled immediately, including newspapers, magazines, trade journals, and other publications, both in print and online. That is sweeping craziness. Sorry. This is shocking, yes? And then last year, of course, there was Michael Maris, who tipped us off inadvertently and somewhat hubristically that Massey College, and by extension the university, was a slave plantation. And Jordan Peterson is ushering in a new Neanderthal age, but let's not insult the Neanderthals, so let's hold on. I mean, you know, Neanderthals were trying their very best to leap into another time. Yeah. But these are the morbid symptoms Gramsci spoke of, all right? The xenophobic and anti-woman imaginaries that these men and people who follow them live in and occupy is coming to an end. Their homophobic and anti-trans anxieties would see other people's sovereignty as somehow encroaching on their patriarchal rights are a result of their loss of control. Their world of inequity is coming to an end, and we must be careful that we don't find ourselves merely laughing at them. Yeah? They want to return us to a past, the one that we fought so hard to get out of. So these people occupy seats of power, and they may legislate sometimes all kinds of horrible things into existence, and they may survey what we have begun and try to strangle radical movements. But things are actually made in the spaces of that radical movements come from. You know, you wouldn't have an 8-hour day, you wouldn't have a 40-hour week, you wouldn't have voting for women, so many things. Those are the spaces, those radical spaces made those things, yeah? But there's them, and then there's you and I. You know the luck of consciousness, of refusing simply to absorb. You are more and better than the status quo. There are artists and theorists and activists and educators and teachers fighting to make a new world, and I know you are part of them because that is why you came here, as I did 30 years ago. Here is just a small inventory of organizations and people right here in this city and in the country fighting for that new world. Idle no more, Black Lives Matter, No One is Illegal, Fight for $15 and Fairness, Jane Finch Action Poverty, Ontario Coalition Against Poverty, OHIP for All, Migrant Workers Alliance for Change, Parkdale Rent Strike, Housing Action Now, Mining Injustice. There is Beatrice Hunter, a Labrador woman sent to jail for protesting at Muskrat Falls. There's the Tsleil-Waututh Nation, the Squamish Nation, and 5 other First Nations protesting the Trans Mountain Pipeline, all trying to save our lives. There's such an enormous amount of energy and creativity and improvisation and intelligence and courage being put into the reclamation of those lives. For some of us, changing the world amounts to an emergency. So here we are in the weather. As the theorist Christina Sharp writes, here there is disaster and possibility. And while we are constituted through and by continuing vulnerability to this overwhelming force, we are not only known to ourselves and to each other by that force, she says. And in the face of this force, as you leave here, go teach, go think, go live, go make your work even more shimmering, robust, and durable. I'm going to leave you with a tiny poem just so you could take it with you. When will we leave the body? The ribbed brace of human bones, the whistling flutes of lungs at atmospheric windows, and time spent on the earth, the raucous coordinates of molecules, and who records their errors, their diatonic scales? Here's where what we do is listen, only listen. Listen to the blood and the rowdy idioms of these cities jagging east, then west. And this submission to vastness that must be done at 6 a.m. each day and 8 p.m. in the evening, precisely. We dipped our hands in the well of our chest to save ourselves. Just this morning, we made our assignation with birds to set our watches in motion. The coldest streets of several cities bellowed and disgorged their pyrotechnic nighttime parties. Glide me across a wooden floor as if in the arms of swifts in flight. Sustain the chord of G from one year to its nomadic next. Of course we'll exist. But how? What would the world be with us fully in it? What about the 900 petroglyphs of our embraces? Thank you.